Let's start in the kitchen. There are a few key areas within your kitchen you should know about: the sink, the countertop, the cabinets and flooring, the electrical system, and the appliances. Your kitchen sink consists of the faucet, the actual sink, the basket strainer, and the drain line. Let's look at the faucet. Start with the finish. Is it corroded or smooth? Next, swivel the faucet from left to right a couple times. You should feel a smooth turn and not a metal-to-metal grind. For the next test, you should place a few paper towels under the sink and drain lines. Turn both the hot and cold water on full. Very gently tilt the spout of the faucet from one side to the other side and look for leaks where the spout meets the base. Also, look for leaks around the handles while performing this test. A faucet sprayer should also be checked. Newer models of faucets have a sprayer that is part of the spout. There is a switch to alternate between the two. If your sprayer has a machine gun effect, this is probably the check valve within the faucet vibrating. Old-fashioned two-handle faucets sometimes have this problem if the water seal inside of the handle gets loose enough to vibrate. The handle should turn smoothly. If your handles allow you to turn water on and off, yet swivel continuously, chances are that a little plastic piece that creates a stop position has broken when the handle was turned just a little too far. While the water is on, observe the flow. A weak flow can be caused by debris in the aerator screen. When water shoots out toward you instead of straight down, this may be from acidic water that has corroded the end of the metal spout. Now turn the water off fast and listen. Valves that close very fast in metal piping to rapidly flowing water that is moving in one direction can cause water to smash into pipes. This condition is called water hammering and can be very dangerous to your pipes. Slowly turn both handles back on and turn on another faucet in the house. A reduction in the kitchen sink's water pressure or volume by more than half indicates that the water lines are probably too small and should be increased, but this could be an expensive switch. With the faucet still on, check underneath the sink to see if the faucet is leaking through its body. Water drips from its lowest point, so if there is a drip, follow it up until there is no more wetness. Your next check is the sink itself. Look for any major chips or cracks. The sink should be firmly in place with no leaks around the edges. Different types of sinks deteriorate in different ways, so keep an eye out for those points to preemptively catch a problem. Basket strainers are known to leak where the lock nut comes in contact with the bowl. Plumber's putty is almost always used to form a watertight seal, but often cracks and forms leaks. A good way to check for leaks is to insert the strainer's basket and fill the sink half full with water. Underneath the sink, run your fingers along the rubber seal where the strainer connects to the sink. A wet seal indicates a leak. Also, if the water level of the plug is lowering, you know there is a leak. Today's drain pipes are often made of plastic. Plastic piping softens as hot water drains through it, and if the pipe supports are too far apart, then the drain pipe starts to sag. This sagging section leads to areas where debris can settle and eventually cause a backup. Also, your standard drain pipe should be at least 2 inches in diameter. Many older homes have newer appliances that flush water faster than a small diameter pipe can handle, and drain lines back up onto the floor. If you hear a glug glug sound, this is an indication that there are air bubbles in the drain line. This is caused by vent problems and usually teamed up with minor blockage in the drain or sewer system. A drain line of 1 to 1.5 inches that is more than 8 feet from a vent or a larger pipe connected to a vent is in violation of plumbing code. If you have a dishwasher, run it and look for a leak where the discharge pipe connects to the sink drain line. Leaks are also common in water pressure lines, supply tube to faucet connections, supply tube to valve connections, and the supply tube valve handle. Is your counter in good condition or coming apart? Are there any gaps between the sink lip and the countertop? Is the area between the back of the sink and the wall rotted because of leaky faucets? Press down on wood to see if it's spongy. And finally, look for large discolored areas, usually caused by placing hot pots on a counter not designed for that. Check your kitchen cabinets for broken, warped, or improperly fitted doors. The under-sink cabinet and cabinets closest to the sink are more prone to water damage. Look for sagging areas under the sink cabinet. And finally, pull out a couple of drawers to verify that the sliding mechanisms are still intact. Newer homes require two small appliance circuits that run along the countertop, and the rest of the general purpose receptacles share those two circuits. Older homes may have only one circuit. To find out if your kitchen has one or two circuits, first check the service panel. If there is no writing or you suspect that the circuits have changed, try this simple test. To save yourself trips walking back and forth, plug a radio into the countertop circuits and turn it up loud. Throw the breakers until the music stops, and then go back to the kitchen to see if the other countertop receptacles have power. If any of them do, you have two circuits. The breaker or fuse protecting the kitchen should be 20 amps. A 15 amp circuit may be used as long as it is wired with 14 gauge wire and it was grandfathered into the code. Many owners think that by simply increasing the size of the fuse, say 30 amps, they can hold more appliances. This is wrong and a huge fire hazard. The kitchen lights should be on a different circuit than the receptacles. Throw the breakers to the kitchen and dining receptacles, and then check the lights. If the lights don't come on, this is improper wiring and needs to be corrected by an electrician. The garbage disposal can be checked by turning it on and allowing water to flow through it. If your disposal is humming, it is locked. A squealing noise indicates that the bearings are bad. A metal banging sound will most likely be a utensil in the unit. If it doesn't work at all, the overload has probably kicked, or the disposal may need to be replaced. Your stove can be checked by simply turning the knobs and verifying that the elements come on. Never pull a gas stove out because the gas line can break. Above the stove should be a light and fan housing. If the fan uses a carbon filter, check it to make sure it is not clogged with grease. Dishwashers should be checked for leaks around the door seal. Turn it on and listen for water filling the unit. Then for a shut-off period. Then the discharge of the water. If a fan is present, turn it on. A metal-to-metal sound indicates that there are bad bearings. Any fan or light within the shower or tub enclosure must be on GFCI protection. Recall from previous lessons that the fans should discharge into ductwork that leads directly to the atmosphere. Discharging into the attic will only lead to further moisture damage to the attic. Another source of water damage is water getting behind tubs or shower faucets. These areas need to be properly sealed because water will rot the drywall and wood studs behind them. If these areas are neglected long enough, it will become very costly to repair. Sometimes water may hit the shower curtain and drip down to the floor and tub interface. Using your foot, press down where the tub meets the floor. A floor that deflects downward easily indicates that rot is taking place underneath. To check for leaks in the tub or shower, you must first remove the plumbing access panel. If there is no panel behind the faucet, when the faucet needs replaced, you will have to pay to have the wall torn out. When the panel is open, turn on the tub faucet and look for water dripping or any signs of water damage. Large water stains on or damage to a ceiling of an area below the shower indicates a potential shower pan problem. You can test for a faulty pan by covering the shower drain and filling the tub with about 1 inch of water. Let it stand 45 minutes. Then check the ceiling underneath for wetness. Next, run the shower and check for any water dripping from above, as well as checking the shower door seals. You also want to make sure that the shower head is securely attached. Inspecting the toilet begins with observing the tank, bowl, lid, and seat for any cracks, large or small. Cracks indicate that the toilet could leak or break at any time. Next, look closely at the shutoff valves and supply tubes for signs of leakage. Don't be fooled by condensation. Wipe away suspect areas and wait for the water to return. A common problem is running toilets. Remove the lid and make sure that the refill mechanism is cutting off the water. A few other potential leak sources are at the tank itself. If the tank hold-down bolts are leaking, there will be water dripping from the bolt threads under the tank. The tank-to-bowl seal sometimes leaks and can be identified by a pool of water at the back of the bowl. If in doubt, you can always add a few drops of food coloring to the tank and look for colored water. The bathroom sink will go through the same checks as the kitchen sink. The first check should be verifying that the stopper works and the sink drains reasonably fast. A wall-hung sink should be secured to the wall, and the same goes for a pedestal sink. You will likely have a receptacle close to the sink, and for safety purposes, this needs to be a GFCI outlet. Check the water pressure and flow by simultaneously turning on the sink faucet, the tub faucet, and flushing the toilet. There should be a drop in flow by the time the second faucet is turned on. A very, very low flow indicates that larger pipes may be needed. Check the flow of hot and cold water individually. Open and close the faucets rapidly. As in the kitchen, a hammering or vibrating noise is called water hammering and occurs when the water flowing in the pipe comes to an abrupt stop, introduces a hydraulic shock, and in extreme cases will damage a pipe and its fittings. You can test your S-trap as well by filling the sink almost to the top and then let it drain. When most of the water has drained, a gurgling or sucking noise indicates that the trap is no longer vented and the water seal has been lost. To re-establish a water seal, when all of the water has drained, run water for about 5 seconds and a new seal will form. The power to your unit should have ground fault protection. More and more manufacturers are having ground fault breaker protection installed right into the control box. Otherwise, a 50 amp double pole GFCI breaker is commonly installed in the service panel. The most common problem for heated units is the bad element that trips the breaker. Hairline cracks can allow water to bleed some current to the ground. This is most likely the problem when you flip a breaker and it immediately flips back off. Finally, the controls should be located where they can be maintained.